Okay, welcome in everybody to today's reading. It is still going to be like a pick a card style format in terms of pick a crystal. That being said, the theme of today's reading is going to be like what's going on between these two or what happened between these two. So I'll kind of title it afterwards. And timestamps are in the description box. That being said, group one, we have the Stillbite. All right, I feel like today we're looking at it, getting a good visual. Okay, group two, we have the fossil. And group three, we have the Obsidian pyramid, which is like, I swear, we just get dust no matter what. I literally rinsed it off with water before doing this video just to like make sure it was like all nice, and it's like just in the air. Okay. Yeah, timestamps are in the description box, and I'll get started with group one. I'll see you in whichever group it is that you choose. Okay, welcome in group one. If you chose the Stillbite, then this is going to be your reading today. I was actually hearing the Nickelback song. I can't remember what it's called, if it is like Rockstars or something like that, or but basically it was kind of coming through in a way that there's one of these two people is going to be a person who really wants like the fame and fortune lifestyle or something like that, or they want to be seen, they want to be I don't know, it could be like a fast free living, but I really get it more as a wanting to be known or seen or famous or like cool or something like that. Okay, definitely could also be a person who is a bit mischievous or I don't know, like cheeky or opportunistic at times, but like I don't know like how far that goes, but it's just kind of some of the traits that I'm getting come through. So it definitely feels like it's for one person. I'm actually seeing a deck now that I have not got out, so I'm going to pause the video and go get that. Okay, so I would say on one hand there is something about a person or a situation who needs protection, but like a lightness as well. So I do feel like it's kind of two very different characteristics or traits, like two different personalities, two different people that are coming through. So like one person with that like wanting some sort of fame, fortune. I just heard rivalry. So and this is like what happened between you two, like these two. This is kind of framed in like a third party sense. So even if you could find yourself on like any side of this, right? You could be a person kind of witnessing like something going on with friends or people that you know, or some sort of situation that you're a part of, like a bigger group, like a workplace, whatever that looks like, doesn't matter. But you could be one of the people in it. But I'm just gonna, you'll have to find your position within that, okay? So yeah, it's like I have one person who you know, is after the fame, fortune, and there's that like whole rivalry thing that's like kind of coming through. Because when I was first getting it come through, it was coming through like really kind of just like fun and like free and wild, and it was just like, we'll just see what happens and not take it too seriously and just make the most of it kind of thing. But there was, and it was like what was seeming like a good energy, like really just really fun, like there was just nothing too serious about it. And the more I talk about it, I start to kind of get underneath it. I heard like the rivalry thing, but then I'm like, I almost wonder if there's like some negative alterations within this person in terms of like, I don't want to talk about the schema. Maybe there's just unconscious or subconscious sort of driving factors here that they're not seeing within themselves, is what I would say. And then we have this like other person who has like a real genuine, like kind of pure energy to them. And this would be the person, if I had to kind of just, you know, for the lack of a better expression, say that, like, you know, sometimes if you meet like a spiritual person and they live very much on the like higher vibrational sort of resonance, and it's like light and fluffy and we're all very healing and it's all very like it doesn't matter like what the aesthetic or the theme is around this person, or maybe the types of things that they say and do, but this would be the equivalent of a person who's like really there for the genuine healing and is really talking about like unconditional love, you know, seeing a person as a whole and being very, like keeping yourself to a higher standard and all of that sort of stuff. And I think sometimes on the surface it can, like, I kind of get this person who's after like the fame, fortune, that whole rivalry sort of personality, or like seeing you, I guess, as a rival, because you could be that person that we're talking about that's kind of got a bit more of like a pure, honest intention, that's like maybe a bit more of like healing energy or a protective energy in some sense. They kind of, I think they think it's a show. I think even for those of you that they don't think it's a show, or maybe the more that that person got to know you over time, they realized that it wasn't a show, but it was like the way that they looked at it from the outside was kind of like they thought you were either, it was like either putting on a show, you either live in some type of like delusion where it's all, I want to say they would think like they just don't understand the cause. It's like they don't understand the mission, they don't understand the higher purpose, they don't understand a calling, they don't understand your life path, regardless of what it looks like, because I think this person lives in their ego a lot, and for them it's just like unfathomable, or it's like incomparable in some way, because I think you're just doing what you're doing like because you feel like you have to, or because you love it, or because it's like making like a genuine positive impact on people and yourself or a community or something like that is the way that I would say it. And so it's kind of like this person thinks that it's a show. They think that there might be a little bit of like a delusional quality there, that like maybe you're maybe you think you're better than what you actually are. So they think there might be like a mismatch in terms of capability, but also like the actual genuine skills and abilities or popularity or something like that. Okay. So you can kind of see if they're looking at it through a lens of that, then it would be very hard for them to actually understand any genuine purpose, work, or healing underneath it. But I kind of get that you would be a person who would lead with like, it's like very heart-led energy. It's very like humility, like lots of humility, right? So it's like maybe you know that what you're doing, it's just, this is the thing that's kind of weird about it, because I don't think you even think about it this way. But I think that it would be kind of obvious to you that something about what you do is not like, maybe you're not super flashy about it. Maybe you don't just like verbal diarrhea all over every single person all day long, talking about it, bragging. I don't know. And if it's not like a bragging energy, but just like a, I'm so good, or this happened with a, I don't know. It's like, I actually wonder for some of you if you kind of keep it to yourself more, like if you are a bit more private, or if you're not, it's, even if it's not about keeping it to yourself, it's just like maybe you feel like you don't want to suck up all the air in the room by just like talking about yourself all the time. I don't know. Like there could be so many reasons why you don't. Maybe because what you do is like a very deeply personal work, and maybe sometimes you touch on heavy topics, and maybe that's not always like over dinner conversation for people unless they're willing to go there, right? Like maybe you're very respectful of others' boundaries or personal sense of like emotional well-being and safety, especially if you are doing like a deeply healing work. I keep getting flagged for Reiki, and I was going to mention it in some of my examples, but I was like, no, we're going to keep this open for people, but I feel like I need to say it. So that could be a point of confirmation for some of you. If you do some type of like energetic healing work, it doesn't have to specifically be Reiki, although that could obviously be like a pretty common one, I feel, for a lot of you that could be resonant in terms of either how you met this person, something like, I would say that if you are this person that I'm talking about, that, you know, very much in line with this like healing kind of, I guess like pure intentions and wanting to help, or doing things that even if they look small in this other person's eyes, genuinely make like a positive impact, right? That you would be the person who is doing Reiki. What I would say though, however, is that this could be a person, I'm not saying that everyone here has to be doing Reiki, okay? There's so many other ways that this could come through. It's just kind of the example, but it also could be a strong confirmation for a lot of people. on this other person who's like after the fame, fortune, and has this like weird rivalry thing going on, you could have met in the same scope, industry. They could have somehow, whether they were like already doing it first or whether they've like seen what you're doing and then decided to kind of try to climb to meet you, to rival you in some way. It just makes me think that this person sees you more as like an obstacle, and that you don't really have a clarity or a clear vision in terms of like how you see the world, in terms of how you see yourself, in terms of how you kind of really stack up in comparison. But I just think that you're not living in comparison. So it's like, it's two totally different, opposite energies here that it just shows that this other person, the lens that they're looking at, like, or viewing people through, it's just so kind of far off the accuracy. And I guess one thing that I would like to talk about, which is I find it really hard to kind of define it or pin it down or explain it in a way that creates a ruling or like a way to hold like an accountability or anything like that. But at the end of the day, it's really not our jobs to, like, you know, spirit, the universe has got that sorted, so we don't have to worry about it. But I guess what I would say is that you can't ever really judge another person's intuition. I guess you could say, I got a reading from this person, it didn't resonate, or I felt like they didn't really understand what they were channeling. Maybe the messages came through distorted. Maybe this person is just totally off the mark and I don't know how they think that what they're doing is legit. And I just have to say that the universe is like bigger than you and that person getting a reading or something like that. I think it's probably not such a apples for apples example. Maybe that's not a good example. It kind of touches on like themes or dynamics, but maybe not that actual situation that played out. What I feel like I need to talk about the other side of that, right? Just because a person doesn't realize that a reading, like just because a person doesn't feel like a reading isn't resonating doesn't always mean that it's like not their reading. It just, we don't always know how these things work. They can sometimes, like, you know, it might not come to actuality until like 2 weeks time or 2 months time, but we just like can't tell where things are sitting in terms of a timeline. And if it's like, it could be literally a million things, I don't know. And this is where it's kind of that thing where it's like, it's hard to pin it down or to say, you know, whether it's good or bad or whatever. And I think at that point, you just need to stick with, if you are looking for a reading or if you are unsure of this person or something like that, I would just always say that you have to trust your own guidance ahead of anybody else's, because like you're learning to exercise your own discernment, right? And your higher self is going to have, I guess, a pathway let out for you for your highest good. And sometimes I feel like I'm trying to talk about something that I just don't have the words for. It's like, the more that I think about it, it kind of gets a bit exhausting, going around in circles, never really coming up with like a conclusion, if that makes sense. So, I don't really know if we want to keep talking about it too much. There could just be a lot of themes around stuff like that. I don't know. I'm kind of getting back to the point of like, you can't really judge another person's intuition, okay? So you don't, like, you can have people getting very similar or even contradicting information that on the surface are manifesting very differently. And sometimes people's intuition does get distorted, or sometimes people, you know, especially in terms of depending how you receive like your intuition or messages and stuff, like I think that kind of the empathy, the clairsentience, even if you're a person who kind of gets more of like the thought form messages. So whatever name you give that doesn't matter. So whether you would call it like telepathy or claircognizance, or maybe that's how you receive your messages. Some people, like, maybe it's like an auditory thing where you're like, well, this is, what's the hearing one? I don't know, Claire listening. I can't remember. But it's like, maybe our own thoughts, if it's coming through in our own voice, is getting mixed up with the messages. So we're like going through a spot where we didn't realize that, we've all of a sudden accidentally given reins to, our thoughts as opposed to an intuition. Okay. So that could be something that someone here has experienced. And what I would say is that, going that aside, it doesn't really matter who experiences that. I feel like everyone goes through like learning periods or phases in life and time, especially with something like this where it's very hard to pin down. Okay. So I just think, there's that thing that a lot of readers and different people say where it's like, if it comes from spirit, it's like uplifting, or it's, it's like, I don't have the words. We're going to move on. Okay. If the words come through, I'll obviously keep talking about it, but I just feel like at this point I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this stick. Okay. So maybe it's something that you or this person have spent a lot of time thinking about, and again, we're reaching no conclusion. Okay. All right. What I want to go back to is that to this person who's after like the fame, fortune, and they see you as like, it's just like a pure rivalry thing, like they're somehow placing themselves against you in a competition or whatever. They see you as a person to kind of take down, or to, like just an obstacle in their way. So what I would say is that if you are a person doing this like healing work, or kind of coming in that sort of purer vision, and maybe that's how people know you to be, this person, to them it's like a party trick, but to you it's like the real deal. So I don't think they're ever really going to. The thing is too, though, is that maybe this person did experience a little bit of intuition, but maybe the amount is not, maybe they're giving it more weight or credit. And this is not to like reduce another person's experience or anything like that, but maybe they just are not realizing that some of what they're calling their intuition is not intuition. Okay. I don't know. This is like an icky subject, so I'm just doing the best that I can here. But I feel like you're going to know what this is for your situation. It should be resonating for you. And if it's not, I mean, there is that possibility you could be the person on the outside, like watching this play out. And if that's the case, maybe it would kind of click certain things into place for you, that maybe there is like kind of a scrambling of like a radio signal or something like that you're watching play out with people. And it didn't really make sense, but maybe that would help actually fill in the gaps. Not that that's the aim, but maybe kind of. Okay, so now so I would say that this person who's like, oh yeah, it's like a party trick and stuff like that, maybe they have like a really fun personality and everything, but maybe they kind of lead with an act of innocence because they know that kind of gets them by in some way. Whereas like I don't want to keep talking about it because I feel like it just gets misconstrued left, right, and center. So what do we need in this moment for group one to know about the situation? Are we going to talk about this third person that's kind of peering in? Okay. So there could be a person who has watched this play out that is a person who's kind of already been down this pathway before. This is so funny. I was thinking to myself when I was like kind of, cleaning up the table and trying to get ready for doing this video, I was thinking to myself, this is like one message one time in my life. Never have I ever like had a message come through that I felt like maybe it needed to come through an older person or a person with more life experience than me. And because the divine only gives you like messages that you would be a good channel for, if that makes sense. But there's something here where I wished it was like my ability to explain it. It's like I need I feel like I need like a clarity that either only time can kind of play out and provide through literally just like being mindful, letting things just naturally process, and then you have that random pop kind of epiphany moment where you're like, boom, it all makes sense. Okay, now I understand what was happening. So there could be something like that here where someone is either a little bit younger, and when I say a bit younger, you don't have to be 20. You can be 30 or 40 and you can have stuff on your plate, or maybe your journey has kind of in some way you've ended up with like a youngness to you, a youthfulness to you, that maybe you've just been so like preoccupied that you don't really get that time. And so because you're not getting that time, then like the process that naturally would happen isn't getting as much of a chance to happen. However that looks doesn't really matter. There's every time I talk about it, it's like this is like a real problem for someone here, or for like, I don't know, maybe all three of you, right? Because there's like the two people that this is kind of playing out with, and then we've got somebody else sort of here watching it unfold and unpacking it. But I wanted to talk about how, yeah, I guess like a mentor could be a person who's done it before and they get it. So maybe if you were the person that, maybe the viewer, if you are this person in like a mentor energy, maybe you already understand what I'm talking about, and me kind of going around in circles trying to figure it out as I'm talking about it could be an energy or example of these people involved, and you don't need all these explanations or anything like that. You already understand it, and you could be watching to see how people handle it. You could be watching to see what, like, I kind of get it come through in terms of like a light and a shadow and an ability to be integrated. And almost if we talk about like a codependency, where if we feel like we have a void or a gap within ourselves, there's something that we're maybe not very strong in our, not personality, but like ability to kind of give to ourselves, then we can kind of, get really close to another person who has that kind of perceived opposite strength in some way and kind of plug into them. But then maybe they have a void in another area that we have a strength. So we're kind of like puzzle pieces. And I don't know, I don't think codependency is necessarily has to be a theme here, because I think that can just be like a normal human thing. But they're probably trying to watch how this plays out to see, do these people understand where their weaknesses are? Do they understand where their strengths are? Do they understand how they got into this position? Do they understand, how to navigate it going forward? And it's like they're watching character in real time playing out. It's also like, I don't know if I want to call it a test, but this could be like a provisioning or a scouting for a person to mentor, and maybe they were like the two people. I just heard like the heads on the chopping block. So whether it's the case that you guys were both already being mentored by this person, and they were like wondering like, well, someone here has to go. I can't keep both. This isn't working. So they're trying to work out who has to go. But then if it's not that exact thing, it could be like, if I was going to take on a person to mentor, who would I take on? And so that would be the two options. So either way, it's kind of like a choosing of one. And I think that maybe this person, after the fame, fortune, that has this big rivalry thing, probably has a really good, big out there energy that is kind of captivating. And it is very like, I think a lot of people kind of get enthralled. They get really wrapped up and drawn in, and they're like they feel alive and they feel in it, and they have these really good, big, crazy experiences or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I get the energy. I want to say it's very illusionary, where it's like card tricks versus energy reading or something like that. I'm not really sure how to explain that, because I'm not trying to put down just like reading cards for reading cards. It's still like a divinatory practice. Okay. I just, maybe there's something here with this person who comes through in that healing, pure energy, where it's like, maybe they're too stuck in that kind of light attribute where they haven't really, it's just like opposite end of the scales. Like, if I'm honest, it's just like one person's like probably embrace their shadow to a point where it's like unhealthy and not conducive to like it lacks like honesty and it lacks integrity and all of that sort of stuff. But then this angel person, or this pure kind of healing person with good intention, I think they very much live in it and they hold themselves to a higher standard. But then like maybe it does fall into that kind of rigidity. Maybe it's not rigidity. Maybe it falls into the, now I'm so high on the purest scale that I'm no longer allowed to just be a human who has emotions, who sometimes gets it wrong or makes mistakes, or maybe I am not able to embrace my shadow side to actually help myself in times where I need it. Because I kind of get the energy that this trickster person, that whole rivaling thing and, you know, having their agenda or whatever it is to like, you know, kind of get to the top. We've been having messages like this come through for quite a while now. So I feel like we might still be unpacking it, or it's still playing out in some way. Or you're kind of a person coming in on a different angle, something like that. It's like this trickster person will throw shade every chance they get. And this angel person is trying to stick to their moral compass and keep them like, you know, just like not sink to anybody else's sort of lower standards or methods, right? But there's something here where they're actually lacking the ability to take care of themselves or to protect themselves or to set the record straight in some way, because they're so concerned with living in this level of like angelic behavior where I would never hurt a fly, I would never this, or I don't want to be like that. And it doesn't have to be an ego thing. It definitely could be. I mean, like a lot of it doesn't, when I say that, I don't even mean it to be egotistical. I feel like if anyone's egotistical here, we've got this trickster energy has like a really hard time accepting criticism, hence why they feel like they need to kind of like put on a show or fake it or distract or like whatever that extra, all those sort of things are. But it's like this angel person, it's kind of getting to a point where maybe they need to rescue themselves. And until they're able to do that, this sort of stuff is just going to keep happening. So I think that the mentor person here can see what's happening and I think they originally lean towards this angel-like person, but they're kind of watching to wait to see, are they going to let themselves just get thrown around? Are they going to take a stand? Are they going to, I don't want to say that you don't have a backbone, but it's kind of like, are they going to let this happen? Are they going to do something about it? Mate, there could be something here, right, with that purist thing, where maybe you don't want to speak badly about a person, because to you that would be like stooping to their level, but maybe this person goes around and literally slanders your character left, right, and center, and it's like at a level that it would be considered genuine defamation. Like if you actually had, I don't feel like it's court worthy, but I feel like if you had evidence and took it there, then it would be genuinely considered defamation. And I think when you start getting into talking about things like spirituality and intuition and all that sort of stuff, everyone's lining themselves up to sit on what is it, like, that kind of cutting board of like, we are all arguing about stuff that is really nothing. Like, it's like at this point it's kind of crazy talk, but like there's something here where it's just people don't know what's intuition and what isn't. Okay, I just want to bring it back to that. I just think the whole court thing, don't take it seriously. It's like just a grain of salt example. But I mean, I'm not saying that the defamation isn't happening. I 100% feel like that would be the case. And I think in some ways, if this trickster person kind of gets really close to the mentor person, I want to say that they are more astute or they are better practiced in being able to actually spot that type of behavior, know what it is. Kind of, I get that they very artfully kind of bat it away. Like, they're very good with their boundaries, they're very good with their discernment, they're very good at like keeping like a healthy distance in a way that doesn't kind of shame a person or put them down. Like, they're still maintaining their good relationships, but they're very anchored in themselves to where it's just very protective for them. It's very calming. It's how they stay grounded. It's how they keep themselves in the light that they are. I kind of have it come through that way. And but the thing is that I think if they spent enough time around this trickster person, that they would eventually kind of fall prey to it because of like that closeness just from being around all day, every day, and that's now the normal. And then maybe they take a liking to this trickster person, whereas maybe this person who lives in that purest kind of energy, it might come off a bit more boring, or it comes off a little bit more like, well, now I feel like I can't be myself because you feel like you can't be yourself, or like I feel like I might accidentally tread on your boundaries just by being a normal person, having an expression or something like that. So yeah, lots of stuff here kind of going on. I do feel like I want to use the frankincense, so we're going to see if we can get, I really should have got a coal or something like that to kind of keep this going, but that's okay. I'm going to get this going. Do we want to put it? No. Maybe we'll just do that. It'll be enough for now. I hope that this is making sense for you guys. I would say by now, if it's not, then I would just click off the reading. But I mean, I don't know. These examples that I've given, like about the spirituality and stuff, I feel like the amount that it's coming through talking about people's intuitions and stuff, it doesn't have to be the case. It genuinely could just be like one person's thoughts and feelings versus like another person's, because it's still our own inner experience, right? That no one really knows what another person is thinking, but there's just been I keep talking about it in a way that I'm like, seems pretty obvious to me that it would be that. Okay, there's a lot of smoke. This is just a bit next level. Let's go. I think for some of you, there could be a trouble here with holding like a higher vibration. I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to pause the video for 1 sec. Let's go. Okay, so this whole thing, it definitely could be just one or two people having troubles with, I don't know, just working out where they're at, just working out their intuition and all that. And I feel like a lot of this probably wouldn't really be a problem if we're able to get ourselves in a position where, like, you know, maybe our meditations are down pat, maybe our energy is grounded, clear, and like maybe you've got other things going on. I don't really know, but I just think maybe we're giving this trickster person too much like energy or attention or something. And I mean, it's probably hard, because I feel like if someone's constantly putting you down or something, then it's like, well, yeah, I guess, is there a call to do something about it or speak out on it? I actually wonder, for some of you, obviously you make your own decisions and whatnot. I kind of wonder, with the way that this is coming through, if all you need to do is simply like state your case. Like maybe it is just to this one mentor person, maybe it's to others. Maybe if like the topic ever comes up, because you don't have to go around, you don't have to like do the same as them where you go around and make it every single person's business. But if the topic ever comes up, there's no reason why you can't say, well, this is what happened. Just because you're saying something has happened doesn't mean, like, it's not the same as putting a person down. If they have taken actions that have that will negatively reflect upon their character, then like you're not, I don't know how to explain it. Like, sorry that you did things that you're not okay with people knowing about. Like, you know, sorry that you portrayed yourself in one way, but really you're another. And I don't mean it to come through as being petty. It does seem like really childish every time. Every time I get to the bottom of it, it feels very childish. I think that this person genuinely probably gets a lot of people kind of like wrapped up in this, and that it's just part of their repertoire, I heard. So I don't think they're probably ever really going to stop, and I don't think it's ever going to just be you that this happens to. I think it'll be an abundance of people. If this mentor person gets sucked into it, then they're probably not the mentor that you would have wanted anyway, okay? Or maybe they're still learning their own lessons. And so that could have been something to do with that age message that I was trying to pull through. Because it's like, maybe the mentor person only equates, credibility with age. And I'm not saying that there is not something, there's always types of wisdom to be learned or gained through people that are experienced and have had time. But just because the person's older doesn't necessarily mean that they're like necessarily the better person for the job. And I don't mean that in a way that's supposed to like invalidate or reduce down anything. Because I feel like even just by talking about that, there would be people here that would like kind of want to get into the details and kind of debate that whole, like, I feel like it's like an age-old sort of thing that plays out. The same way that there's almost like a battle of the sexes in terms of like, gender roles and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we're not going there, but I think maybe this mentor person was equating a person who is older to be the better positioned person or the better person for the spot or something like that. But what they're watching play out over time is not necessarily the case. And so I think that maybe the younger person out of the two is actually the person who would be better suited. But maybe there is an acknowledgement of certain areas where they still have to shape up a little bit, okay? Which is pretty fair. Maybe they have to learn to assert themselves more, or maybe they have to learn. It's reminding me, not that I could link it, I can't remember the entire reading it came through, but it's like getting my message come through for one of the videos where I was talking about allowing yourself to be a fully fledged human, okay? So like, do you have feelings? Do you have needs? Like, do you have boundaries? Is it okay for you to be the villain in some people's eyes? Or is it okay for you to be like, why that two things coexisting, like a duality in a person? Like, it is okay for me to still be a person who does deeply sacred inner healing, where there is a lot of purity, love, or like unconditional love and understanding and compassion for people in this healing space, or it is like a very, almost like a feminine healing space in some way, where you are able to really help. And it's okay to be that way. But then, if someone's going to try to drag your name through the mud, maybe it's okay for you to be like, well, I can correct the record and step down off my angelical higher kind of, I don't know, what is it? Off the horse, off the higher moral kind of ground, right? I'm able to say, no, this is actually what happened. And I don't care if it makes me look like a person who's gossiping or a person who's, stooping to their level, because I know the truth in me is that it's not, okay? So something there like that. And so I just, like I said, this mentor person could still have some of their own lessons to learn. Maybe there's something in either of these people that reminds them of themselves when they were younger. And so maybe there's something there where the way that they had to come out into their journey or into themselves was more closely aligned with this kind of trickster person. So maybe they kind of see themselves in them. And if that's the case, then maybe they're like, oh, well, they will come good. They can still be on path and be that way too. And that is true. But I think there's something here where because of that likeness, they're overlooking this person's willingness to ever be more. I think that this trickster person would probably just like spiritually bypass a ton. And I get that there are times in life where it can be genuinely really hard to there are just times in life where you're just not meant to be doing the work. There are times in life where you're just meant to just existing. like this is hectic. I'm literally not capable, because it's just like kick after kick of, I don't know. I was like, hate talking about trauma all the time, but I guess like if you just keep copying knockbacks, maybe that's not the time to be doing work on yourself. Maybe you just need to be able to breathe. You need to be able to get into a safe space. You need to be able to just like eat and just put your bones down like a bag of bones on the couch and just just be. Maybe if you like or get severely depressed for a week, you just need to be a mess in bed and crying. I don't know. And then you kind of come good, and then maybe you can get back to working on yourself. And so I don't want to equate that with spiritual bypassing, but I feel like there's a lot of people here. I think there's a lot of confusion around terms, okay? So I think there's a lot of confusion around terms that are thrown around. I think this definitely could have something to do with like the internet. There's so many terms that are thrown around that like people just hear something, they kind of regurgitate it, they don't totally know the full, like, I don't know, I'm the person who like would just say stuff because I kind of get the gist of it and hope that it makes sense in the best way I'm trying to explain something without putting too much effort into it. I think there could be a lot of overthinking in this group as well. So just remember, like, oftentimes the energy that I come through in a reading when I'm talking about something is just very like reflective of a person or a situation, or maybe even your own feelings or something. But like maybe it's hard to pin down. But if you've got this trickster person here, everything's going to be hard to pin down. So you might be trying to work out who's right, who's wrong, you know, all that sort of stuff. But it's like it's always going to be a convoluted picture. Get these people on their own and see when is it convoluted, when is it not. I don't know how else to really talk about it. I don't know what else I can kind of say about it without just talking in circles, going over like a never-ending problem. What I would say is if you're having trouble and getting them on their own separate from one another is still not making the difference, I would just have time to yourself. Like maybe focusing on the situation has gotten to a point where it's no longer actually helpful, and that's okay. I'm gonna take some more cards. Yeah. I just heard them, so whichever them it will be, we'll see. I just want one. Them. Dragon. It's a very evolved person, so but also like maybe they're not finished. Maybe they're like in hibernation or something, right? And then I just heard you. So I've got vulture, scorpion, and lizard. I mean, you could be the person coming through in the trickster energy as well, obviously, but I just fire and air. What is it? Is it fire and air? I want to check. Doesn't matter. Okay. I kind of just, I want to say it's like lower nature, a little bit like scavenger, and the way that I'm not saying this as like a negative thing, like the earth needs to be cleaned up, right? Like cycles, it's just part of the cycle. It's part of the, so the wheel can go round, everyone needs to do their jobs. And sometimes that looks like being the vulture and looks like being the cleanup crew. Sometimes it looks like being the scorpion who has the ability to kind of, you're not like stinging to fight, you're stinging to kind of end the fight. Maybe if you're otherwise left alone, pretty harmless, right? But also super intimidating because you do have that real crazy sting factor. But then with the lizard, I do get it come through a little bit as like scavenger energy, right? Like I think when they talk about like Komodo dragons and whatnot, they can just like eat dead carcasses and stuff like that. So it's still a little bit similar to this vulture energy, but there could also be like that color blending, camouflaging kind of energy as well. So it's like being one way and trying to pretend to be another, or maybe not easily being seen. But I just think that this dragon energy is kind of, it's like a healthy, wholesome embodiment of everything that's very powerful. but maybe it's in hibernation. So maybe people aren't seeing that right now, and that's okay to trust the process. And then I think when you awaken, maybe for some of you, sometimes you do come off in an intimidating energy. And if that's the case, that would also make a lot of sense, because I think sometimes people, there's a really strong contrast in energy here where this angel energy is almost in this picture right now for this reading is coming through to me in a way that's like maybe so soft that they can only take care, like only kind of sit with themselves or feel sorry for themselves or something, but not really protect themselves. Maybe they can nurture themselves and that's kind of where it stops. But the dragon's like powerful. It's like Phoenix energy times 10. I don't know. And it's like no one gets in the dragon's way. People are scared of the dragon. And it's like you have to recognize there's still a strong divinity there. But it's, I don't know, do you need to awaken the dragon, or is that already happened? And so people are trying to paint you out. You could have both sides of these. Did this person meet you in a time where you were in an angel energy? So then when they see the dragon, they're like, oh shit, but they think that you're coming after them or that you're trying to hurt them or something, but really you're just like very powerful and very embodied. So there's a lot of stuff going on there that I think there's a lot of confusion. I think I look at the angel energy and I think, you know, they probably don't really see themselves very clearly, right? But I look at the dragon and I'm like, there's no way you can ignore that. So there definitely could be like a dissonance in ideas or ideals. What you are and what you want to be, what you strive to be, and your presence, like all these things that are stacking up. You could have like 12th house placements that are a little bit blinding to you. So maybe you don't see your own power. So for example, if we talk about Mars in the 12th house, sorry, I know this has been a bit of a long-winded reading, but we're doing what we're doing. If you have Mars in the 12th house, Mars, it can talk about hidden enemies, right? So that's one thing that we often hear, and I 100% believe it. But it also could be maybe not seeing your own strength and your own power, or maybe not seeing your own competency or ability to make shit happen. I don't know. It also could be the sun, like in the 12th house as well. So it might be like just never really being seen, but not by yourself either. So it could be one or the other or both. Like maybe you're not seeing yourself, maybe they're not seeing you. Maybe no one's really seeing anyone. Kind of gets just very convoluted, but that's the actual energy, okay? All right, that all said, I feel like I want to get this off the table. I feel like we've done our little bit there that we needed to. I think there's something here where it is part of your genuine spiritual evolution to go through this point. It's just like an awkward source point in time that no one can really do anything about, and everyone's just trying to make sense of, and it could be really convoluted. And I heard condescending, but I was going to say confusing. So there could be a lot of stuff going on there that just, like, heaven knows why. We want like helpful information. So we've looked at the situation. Tame and attain. This is just you guys working out your own intuition. I feel like it's that simple. I just think it's just part of the everything clicking into place and just working it out. Yeah, and temperance. There just might be things that you have to work out here within yourself at the same time as letting the intuitive stuff click into place, and that could be clearing up any sort of distorted energy that is around or that you may have, or even with other people. Maybe it just helps you see others' distortion more clearly in some way. Anyway, that's everything that I have for you today, group 1. Hopefully this is like helpful to you. Like, I don't intend for those messages to be like long and drawn out. It's just sort of the way that it comes through sometimes. So that being said, we will leave it there, and yeah, I'll catch you in another one. Oh, if it resonated, definitely like the video. Oh. Okay, welcome in group to a bit of a weird reading that we have today, and the way that it's going to come through, because it is just meant to be like what happened between them or what's going on between them, something like that for this message. We'll see whichever way it comes through. Hopefully you can make sense of it and it does resonate. I just, when I laid these cards down, because I wasn't really sure I was going to even use cards, but I think we are. It's just there's going to be maybe a lot more like you know, psychometry, like reading from the object as opposed to the cards, compared to usual. But I was hearing like who's who, so there could be a lack of clarity. And to be fair, group one, there was a whole, I don't know, it was kind of like there was clarity, but people weren't necessarily able to see clearly either. So that could be something like, if you already felt drawn to it, go check it out. But otherwise, I wouldn't. It was pretty kind of long-winded, and I don't know if it really ended up being super conclusive, if that makes sense. But I want to sit with this fossil for a little bit. I just heard they don't need to know everything, okay? So we've got like who's who, and they don't need to know everything. So you could have people that are kind of close to you at this point in time that, I don't know whether they are close to you or not. Some of them could be, some of them might not be, because we've got 3 people, okay? So it was almost meant to be like a third party reading. Not about, when I say third party in this reference, I'm not meaning like, you know, infidelity or anything like that. I just mean like something going on between 2 people and one person kind of watching or trying to understand. I feel like we are going to probably flag zodiacs for this reading. I didn't in group 1. If that you do, go back and check it out. So I do have Gemini and Capricorn, with the Lovers and the Devil. There could be something here to do with like close toxic attachments. I guess what I would say, on one hand, there could be people here that are like very willing to attach very quickly, and because of that, they don't really get to know people properly before they do that. And if it's not that, they kind of just, maybe they feel like they read all the signs right, or you were vibing or something. They were vibing between each other. And when that happened, they maybe like overlooked certain things or didn't see certain things, something like that. For some of you, there could be like levels of codependency between these 2 people where they're doing that plugging into each other of like, I have a weakness here, you have a strength there, you have a weakness here, I have a strength there. And when we join together, we kind of fill the void within each other in some way. We kind of make up the difference for the other. All right, I've got one person who kind of is feeling very like battered and bruised from whatever the situation was that played out, right? They're like a bit defensive, like, I'm not putting myself through that again. So my guard is now up, you no longer, I don't know, like if we have contact, it's probably very limited, okay? I have another person who I feel like has recently come into either a sense of personal power or into their light or into, I mean, I want to even say like discovering their magic or their own magic. I don't know how to explain it. But they could have like a familiar as well. I don't know, this person could be like pretty witchy as well. I don't really know how to explain it. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. The world. I also feel like we could have a person here who is maybe at the start or earlier stages of like a very big life lesson, sort of lifelong journey, in terms of life lessons. So maybe they kind of are a little bit more youthful. Maybe they are closer to the beginning of I don't necessarily mean their life. They could still be kind of, you know, like a middle-aged person, but maybe their life lessons are only just beginning. So like right now at this point in time, they're still pretty happy, they're still pretty optimistic, they're still pretty, I don't know, full of life or pep or pizzazz or something. I don't know, like they're enthusiastic, right? They're still enjoying things. I feel like I don't know how to explain it, and I'm not saying it's the pathway for everyone, and I'm still not even sure that the way I'm explaining it is necessarily like accurate to the totality of the end goal or the point of it, right? Saturn, to me, it's kind of like character development. I feel like this person, frankly just hasn't been kind of beaten down by life yet. And I'm not saying that they necessarily will be. They could handle it any which way 1,000 times and still come out super optimistic and very colorful and vibrant in their soul, and a wanting or a willingness to have fun. Maybe there's a lesson here. There's something that they could teach us about embracing fun while moving through these shifts and circles, and allowing themselves to just kind of be childlike might actually be like a genuine lesson here. But I do think there is something about it where they're just almost maybe like so kind of focused on like the fun or what they want or something, or they're just maybe, I don't know, I don't feel like they see life with rose colored glasses. It just feels young. So we'll see. I mean, for some of you, I have to say this could be a child, okay? And if they are a child, then it's very much like, I think they're a good child. And I don't know, like, how do you ever say any child is not good? I don't understand that. But I think they're like well-intended and stuff like that, right? And I think if things happen along the way, I don't think they mean it to happen. And I'm not saying that at some point, this is kind of where I feel like what I was trying to talk about is that maybe at points in time they are so used to allowing themselves grace that like maybe they learn a little bit slower than other people because they naturally gave themselves grace. So it's like, as much as it's like a positive to get through this energy by embodying like, you know, their inner child, letting themselves have fun and embrace the moment and make the most of it, make the best of it. They're giving themselves permission to do that. And I think that's actually wonderful. And many people, like including myself, could like learn a lot from that, right? But just on the other hand, it's almost like that carelessness that's like bleeds into inconsideration or not really thinking about others and stuff. And so I still genuinely feel like they have this particular part of themselves. And I'm not saying that what I'm describing is an accurate description for their entire personality. I don't think so. I think that this is like maybe a snippet of this person's like character or personality, okay? In how they're coming through in the reading. So they could have other personality traits that are not favorable that would kind of bleed them into a territory where you're like, well, maybe they're actually not that good of a person and they're just better at this or better at that or something. It doesn't mean that there's still not really like a lesson for us to learn in how this person navigates. But there's something here with that kind of more childlike energy that for them is only going to improve through time, through life's sort of hard knocks or lessons or something like that. So this person in one way may need to go through a period of time where I kind of get it like they're knocking on people's doors, but then they like say something rude and then people don't let them in. So then all the doors get closed on them. And then after a while, they learn that they have to approach people differently. And then maybe sometimes people will open the door to them or invite them in or something like that. So it is a little bit of just like shaping them, the universe's way of shaping this person a little bit. I don't feel like this is a particularly hard Saturn path. I can't see everything. Remember that. They could have, it makes me kind of wonder if this person maybe experienced like more earlier in life in younger years. And so maybe they've got some of their stuff out of the way in a way where they still get to have that, or maybe they've kind of moved past certain things, but then haven't had any for a while. I don't know why this is relevant. Hopefully this like is resonating for you, whether this is like, whether you are this person that I'm talking about, or whether this is like resonant with one of the people that I'm talking about in the situation for like what happened between them, okay? I am going to try to, like we talked about, we had like Gemini and Capricorn, okay? So one person could just be like real matter of fact, and the other person, like they could be like a level of like satire, there could be like a deadpan energy, there could be like a dark humor, could be dry humor, could just be like a reality check. It could be, what is it, dogmatic or pragmatic? Like just very in touch with reality to a point that it could almost be a sore point for people. But then at the same time, maybe it does come with like a level of negativity, and maybe that could be maybe that's just not fun for this other person, okay? So, because with that, like Gemini lovers energy, it's like wanting to embrace the moment, wanting to make the most of it, wanting to just be like candid and spontaneous and fun and have all the conversations and get wrapped up in each other. And it's like a really nice time and good thing, and nice to have that like closeness and everything like that. But then maybe they're like doing that kind of like switching gears at a pace that's not consistent and doesn't confirm to moral compass for longer than a month or something. I don't know, okay? I'm not saying that's like the representative of all Gemini energy. It's just what I'm getting for this reading. But because I kind of get it come through in purely in terms of zodiacs as well. So when we talk about Gemini, we could also be talking, I'm called to talk about the houses, right? So it could be like third house. And then when we talk about Capricorn, I don't know why. I mean, some of you could have like Capricorn in the first house, like a Cap rising sign as well. But Capricorn is 10th house. So, I mean, for some of you, there could just be like a real clash in terms of like career, reputation, long-standing kind of consistency over time, or work ethics and whatnot, versus this person's like blah, 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 blah. Like maybe they just, all they do is socialize and like nothing else. And so then I just get that there's like a, what is it? Is it incongruency or a yeah, maybe incongruency. There's something here where it's like not really going together. And I think that there are times, maybe there was a long time or a lot of times where it went together. And I just think that like at some point, maybe the Capricorn person kind of got over the Gemini person's, they don't have to be these literal zodiacs. It's just a way that like, that's what the cards are. I should just refer to them as like the devil and the lovers, okay? But I'm really getting them come through more as like an energy characteristic signature of like representing people. So like the Capricorn person could have very much just gotten over the Gemini person, just like kind of being all talk, or being, maybe it's not being all talk, but maybe they just see it as like, well, you're not really backing it up. Yeah, it is coming through that way. Okay. And then maybe like the lovers Gemini person was like, well, you're just like all work and no fun, or you're like so serious, or you're so like dogmatic or something that you don't really ever move forward, or like you're keeping yourself in a negative loop or something like that. I'm not really sure. Okay. Now that we've got that stuff out of the way, where do we want to go from here? I think it's probably fair to say that some of the underlying patterns of behavior have been happening here for a long time prior to these people coming together. So I think there's something here where maybe like on the surface they really connect really well, or maybe it's not just surface level, maybe it is kind of a bit deep, like deeper than that, but or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe they do have moments of like really deep connection that do work together really well, but then there's like something on the surface that is not congruent. Let's line out. Who are we talking to? Who's the viewer for group 2? Oh, okay. Dilettante. Okay. Pretension to much deeper than you actually possess. I mean, you could... So, let's say. So this is meant to be the viewer. All right. Is this dilettante kind of energy, right? And it talks about being a person who maybe loves everything, but doesn't necessarily always go into any one thing too deeply. And that could be relative to, I'm not saying that you're like not good at things or anything like that. It's definitely not it. But maybe it's like being a jack of all trades, but like a master of none or something. It doesn't have to be. I feel like that's probably more linked to the Gemini lovers kind of energy, right? I don't think I'm putting that in the right place. I don't know which one of these 3 people it is yet. Okay. Then we want this Capricorn person. Who is the Capricorn person? Mystic. Okay, so there could be a lot that's like misunderstood about this person, or you may think that the way that they navigate things is delusional. I'm like reluctant to comment on that. Okay. And then who's the person that this Mystic Capricorn person had something go down with? The Judge. Okay, we want one more card for the Judge. Fabio. Cancer. Okay. I just heard like time's run out. So someone could be, it's like trying to work this out, or time for these people to come back together, or time for somebody to like make up or learn a lesson or get over something. It's really just run out. And it's like maybe someone needed to take better care of someone, but they were making judgment calls. But also I feel like if people were doing things to shortcut them, then I don't know what we're ever going to expect from that. So this feels like this could be an energy that's going to go around in circles, and it's not actually going to be helpful. So we're going to pack it up, and I'm going to take more cards. I feel like for this group, I don't really need to work with the fossil that much, which is surprising. I definitely thought we were going to. What's going to be helpful for group 2? Okay, so you are more than this situation, or what people have made you out to be, or how they understand you, even if they haven't talked about you. And I think that there's like this unknown gift here. It's like something that I don't think you even know or see about yourself. And this nourishing the shadow is going to probably be one of the only ways you can really bring it to light. I'm getting that like Gwen Stefani song, like What Are You Waiting For? Where it's like something really quickly is going to, like, in the Santa Morte deck, I'm going to get it. I'm going to see if I can find it. The Six of Pentacles is a pendulum clock. What are they? Like a, God, what are the old clocks? I don't know. I'm going to see if I can find it because I can't speak. Maybe I just need to show you the card and that will clear it up. But it's like a little bit of like ding dong, the witch is dead, but it's also just like a time is going no matter what. And it's like the pendulum swinging back and forth. And where is it? Come on, don't do this to me. Don't do. Maybe someone feels like, when I'm saying like don't do this to me, maybe someone's feeling like they were put through a round of questioning or examination, or like someone maybe held out on them or something like that. It's hard to say. And I mean, with the Six of Pentacles, that can definitely be an energy where people are like, you know, what's the give and take here? Are people kind of giving just enough, or is it reciprocal both ways? I almost don't want to post this reading because I feel like we're lacking. I don't need it. It's going to be like the last card in the deck or something silly. But I feel like I can't move forward. Here we go. Without talking about it. I think the lyrics to that Gwen Stefani song is going to be like important. Like, what are you waiting for? Like, you're still a super hot female. You've got your $1 million contract and we're all waiting for your hot track. But like giving yourself permission to just like fully embody that like energy where you're just allowed to just like, I don't know why I feel like I have to keep talking about people allowing themselves to just be that fully fledged human. Like, it's okay for you to just show up how you show up, and like this I don't know, have fun and move past it. And maybe life is passing you by. I feel like that's what I've been trying to say this whole time. Maybe life is passing you by when you could just take action and stuff will just start happening. Yeah. Are you guys not allowing yourselves to step into the light? The energy here, it feels like, what is it? Is it kinetic energy or something, where there's like a built up of energy that's like ready to move, that when it finally gets a chance to move, it kind of springs. I don't know. There's a built up of energy here that's ready to be released. So when you decide that the moment is right, it's going to happen. You need to make that decision or take the action, allow that to open up and be a possibility. And when that happens, it's going to take off where it's going to do its thing. Whatever that's in regards to. I just think other people are probably just going to try to siphon your energy, and I don't know if it's really worth worrying about them. And I feel like, you know, we're trying to do this whole reading of like, you know, what went on between these two people. I kind of feel like I want to do it again because I feel like it was like just shit. Like it was not helpful. Like it didn't really tell us. Maybe it did. Maybe it makes more sense to you than it does to me right now. Okay, I did try to take more cards and I did try to continue to go through the energy, and it was like the more that I did it, the less helpful that it was. So I feel like we have definitely reached the, you know, the point of the reading to kind of wrap it up for today. I hope that it was helpful and resonated. Definitely was one that took a little bit of extra work trying to kind of make sense of it. I did actually go back and listen to it, and I do feel like it, if you can follow along enough in zodiacs or blank out the like mention of like astrological jargon and stick to the descriptions that I kind of put out there, that actually should be helpful. It's just, I guess it could be annoying sometimes listening to a reading. It's like trying to find out what's like happened in a situation, and they're just kind of being redirected back to ourselves. So I don't know if it's a case that you guys are necessarily seeking it out, because there's obviously going to be, like, I don't know, a few people that are just like subscribed to my channel that you just like click on a random reading, because that's the one that comes out, and then when you watch it, you're just kind of being pushed back to focus on yourself. So it's like, maybe it's something that has an energetic pull on you. Maybe it's something you are interested in and like trying to get to the bottom of, but it's just not really worth your time. I genuinely feel like you guys right now are in like a big main character energy where you need to be taking action and focused on yourselves. And so they've kind of like said everything that they could say about it. And I don't feel like they're going to get into the nitty gritty details of like he said, she said. It was really just like, you know, personality dynamics kind of playing out. So with that being said, I'll leave you guys to it. I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Yeah, I definitely hope it was helpful. If it resonated, definitely like the video. Feel free to share in the comments. I mean, like, it's always a case of feel free to share in the comments, but I feel like when we get ones come through like that are a little bit like kind of all over the place, it's nice to know how they land, just for me as a reader, like, because even though it's like a general reading, you guys are still part of a collective, I guess, that has is kind of in like an energetic vibrational resonance to a degree. So yeah, that being said, take care, and I'll see you in another one, and we'll get started with group 3. Welcome in group 3. If you chose the Obsidian pyramid, then this is going to be your reading today on like what it was that sort of went down between some people. I do feel I was like kind of hearing something about like we'd basically been waiting for you guys. We've been waiting for this reading. So what might not necessarily be you. It could be you that has been waiting for the reading, but I feel like it's like a spirit team or something like that has been waiting for you guys to sort of get a message like this. So yeah, take what resonates with it anyway. It's coming through, so I guess there's like obviously a purpose to it. I don't know why I feel really called to kind of mention that this pyramid has like a little bit of a nick on top, but it's still like the best. Okay, so it could be something there about like not feeling perfect or having a flaw, like a perceived flaw, but like still being beautiful or getting the job done or something like that. Maybe you think it's a bigger problem than it is, whereas for others of you, maybe it somehow inhibited your ability to do something. So whether this is like, could be in terms of like, I kind of get like one or two things. It could be like how you perceive things or how you protect yourself, something there. So just, yeah, take what resonates. But I like with Obsidian, right? There could be like a protective shield here. And then for some of you, you are like the protective shield. For others of you, you have the protective shield. It also could be true that you just have both happening. It's like you are deeply protected, but you are also a person who is protective of others, okay? Like I heard underdog, so protective of the underdog or an underdog that is protected. Whatever way that kind of overlaps. But there's also something here about absorbing other people's bad or negative energy or whatever that is. So definitely could be the sponge version of an empath, where it's like you walk around and you just suck up any negative shit in the environment, and then you're carrying it everywhere, and you need a way to kind of discharge it, ground it, clear it, protect yourself so that that doesn't happen. So that could definitely be a big part of something that you have to work on. I'm not saying that that journey is necessarily easy. I feel like you go through periods of time in life where that can feel like an absolute chore, and that in itself could end up, you know, become like a draining thing by like focusing on it and all of that stuff. But I do think there is something here where there could genuinely be something to the better you get at your boundaries, or the stronger senses of self you have, or I'm not saying that you have to necessarily like cut people off. I feel like, especially because it comes through in my readings where it's like cut off game strong and all that sort of stuff. I think that there is a lot of times where that's like highly appropriate, and people have probably not acted as soon as what they could have. And like, if you are a person who's come to my readings for a longer period of time and heard me talk about it. But I also think there is like a deep danger to just cutting people off when there's not really, you know, I don't know, like maybe it's a little bit unfounded or something like that. Okay, so we'll see what else we have. It's not always the answer, I guess I could say. There's, you know, it pays to try other things first. Like if we can save a connection that's not all bad or not actually hurtful, maybe it just leaves us feeling a little bit lonely, but like no one really did anything, then that just kind of is part of life, I guess, or part of working through things within ourselves. So there could be something there with that as well. But maybe having the ability to return to ourselves if we need to actually correct people. It could be more about the verbal. I kind of get for you guys, it could be more about the talking. So whether this is how you carry yourself energetically speaking, because if you're carrying yourself in a way that's like you're not going to be thrown around, or you're not just there for people to dump on or something like that, then that will do half of the work for you, I feel, for this group. I don't know, maybe in general. But like, yeah, it's like this is an energy of like, don't be afraid to correct people. Don't be afraid to, I don't know, stand firm in your, like, your belief or your, I don't know, your experience, right? Because sometimes people, like, it's not that we couldn't or shouldn't be necessarily open to interpretation from others so that we can get insight into, like, a different insight into an experience of what we have had. Because there can be a lot to be gained from that, right? Like in how we view something in terms of perception. But there also are times where people are just very dismissive and flat out not willing to, they just might be writing you off mentally because they're not seeing something about the situation. And so obviously that's like a discernment exercise, or I heard pattern. So there could be something there where there's a pattern for you to be working out, and it could be something about how you navigate it, or something that's not being learnt. So it keeps repeating, because that can be a big thing as well. But it's like when you start to say, no, this is my experience. No, I like, in trying to be very reasonable, I don't get an energy in this group that feels unreasonable. Obviously, I'm not. This is like a general reading, so I mean, take what resonates. If you know that there's been times where you've kind of caved to it and maybe like lashed out or something, flipped out or something like that, then I mean, you know your situation and you know where you kind of stack up with this. And this is again coming back to that part of like you learning to navigate your own experience and not necessarily making allowances for our own or other people's poor behavior. And we don't have to, it's not about getting even, it's not about the get back, it's not about like revenge, and it's not about evening the scales. It's just more of like I will correct things that are incorrect, or I will defend myself, or I will stop a person treating me poorly, or like I will not allow others to project onto me. I am allowed to have my own firm experience, and that for that to be true regardless of what you think. We're allowed to disagree. That's what it is. We're allowed to disagree. I'm allowed to exist even if it's in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable or rocks the boat for you, because maybe my view on something is not people pleasery. Like, I'm not here to appease others. And okay, what else do we have? I'm getting something really weird about chocolate come through, which is weird because I was actually watching a read and this morning was someone was talking about like coffee and chocolate, and it was just like an extra point of confirmation. So maybe there's something here where it's like, you know, when you have chocolate and it's unrefined, is like more bitter, like when it's closer to its natural form without being so heavily processed and, you know, all the additional sugars added and stuff, it's definitely more bitter. Like, it definitely does not taste the same as what you're sold in the shops. And there could be something here where you guys are trying to sell yourselves to be sweet, or sell yourselves to be a certain way, or to be palatable for like other people's experience, right? You don't have to do that. If you're bitter and other people are like, oh, I don't like that, it might be an awkward or even a bit of a painful process to go through. But then the people that you'll align with are the people that kind of, they jive with that. They jive with exactly what you are. So it's kind of like weeding out the people that aren't good for you. It's that whole like rejection is divine kind of alignment, I guess, like protection. You like getting rid of, like, I just, even for this group, even if it's not about protection, although it seems to be like a highly significant theme coming up a lot here, it's like, imagine yourself in a crowd of people, like not a crowd of people, imagine yourself in a life that you've built, but you're severely or existentially lonely, even though you're surrounded by a family, friends, a workplace, and you don't genuinely connect with anyone. And there can be a shortcutting here of almost being too protective sometimes that doesn't allow others to sort of see us. But also, if we're not willing to stand firmly in who we are as a person, then it doesn't matter whether you're protected or not. No one's ever going to see you because you're not being yourself. Like, you're not allowing yourself to be that. So all three groups today have definitely had like a kind of background theme of like allowing yourself to be that fully fledged human being. So as much as this is a reading that's about like what went down between people, there's a lot of it can kind of come back to that, okay, for at least like one person in any given scenario. All right, that being said, where are we going to go? So I feel like we've talked about the protection, the being yourself. Okay, yeah, I mean, Aries is like making decisions for yourself and taking action, and like Aries is the one that goes first. So if you're worried about what other people think, then like maybe you wouldn't want to go first. Or maybe it would, I don't know, it would feel, it doesn't matter what people say if you're going first. Yeah, a person who's lost themselves, and a person who's like a mirror or an empathic equivalent of whatever they're kind of in front of, just by picking up on, like, I guess it would be like strong empathing, clairsentience, or something like that. And maybe what all three people involved here today need is a bit more touch of the air energy. It is a little bit more like just being a bit better, well thought out, being a little bit more logical, being a little bit more clear, being a little bit more detached from emotions or feelings or something like that. Like, well, logically, how does it stack up? Air can also be, I don't know why I'm kind of getting it come through as like authenticity, maybe because of Aquarius, right? Okay, so, but we also have like 1, 12, 24, 48. I don't know why that's coming through. So it's kind of like progression of lessons or stacking up. So Aries and Pisces are a funny pairing, because it's like that thing of every zodiac sign that comes through that follows the one before it is like a correction on certain characteristics or parts of the one that it followed. And Pisces is meant to be, I guess, like the last sign in the zodiac, where it's kind of like the dissolving of the self, or like maybe being, sorry, I've just got a bit of noise that's a little bit distracting, but it's like elevating or evolving past our human selves, okay? But then Aries is exactly what follows, and it is being the self, because there is something just as healthy about being the self as there is about being this person who has I don't know what the word is, transcended. That's what I'm trying to say, okay? So there's something almost just as transcendent about being yourself as much as there is being a person who has like transcended, I don't know, like a human life, okay? So really kind of opposite, like lessons to be learned from each other, okay? Who, all right, the self. I don't know if you guys have a tendency to be a little bit more hard-headed, or if that's like a calling for you to step into that, which feels like walking a tightrope, because if you are already a little bit hard-headed, then it's probably not helpful to be more hard-headed, right? Leaning one way too far is not going to be helpful. So maybe it's just trying to find that like equal balance in what's like a good level of, you know, having that strong sense of self, being allowed to be a little bit stubborn or hard-headed where it counts, but then also softening when, like, having the ability to recognize when it's like a good time to soften, and when is not porous of the self, when is not bleeding into each other. I could say for some of you, I don't know how this is stacking up because you could come in on any side of this, but you really could. What is going on? This has been happening with all three readings today. I feel like they've all come through really convoluted. They've all been really drawn out. I think it's just like the nature, right, of when we go into a reading like this and we're talking about kind of what like went down between people, because maybe they don't even really understand it themselves, let alone us, especially if we are one of the people in the mix, but there's like kind of someone, I don't know, like a mutual friend that was kind of exclusive to whatever happened. All right, this could also be something that this water person doesn't know about, but we're just gonna ignore that for the minute. I get so like reluctant with a reading like the video that I've done today to want to post it, because I feel like I know that the messages are there for people, and for certain people they're really going to be the thing that they need, but it's just not like it is helpful, but it's not always, I guess, productive as a whole. Yeah, I just feel like this Pisces person is like Why are we reducing this down to zodiacs? Is there not more to this? Why? It's just like, it's a person who could be like really soft, sweet and really beautiful, but like, and they're just like lost, but they like won't stand for anything. And it's the more that they won't stand for anything is the more lost they become. Okay. And it can be talking about that whole like losing themselves to other people or situations because they won't do anything. And then the Aries is so like oppositional. It's like, it's not opposing on a chart, but it's like, I won't think of bigger things because I am just in the moment taking action. What's the deal? This water person, they could be a person who has, you know, it could be like, when I say third party, it doesn't have to be like infidelity kind of third party situation. It could have been like a group of 3 friends or something, and something went down between 2 people and the other person was just kind of there. But it could actually be a person who is like intuiting something. So maybe both people, someone here could be like getting cards read or something like that. And I don't even mean through this reading. I mean like they would be pulling cards themselves, getting a personal kind of reading done on the situation, or they're getting like intuitive messages, like downloads kind of come through where they're maybe not even necessarily seeking them out. They could be if you have it like an open dialogue with spirit or something, but it could just be coming through even without them like trying, if that makes sense. So, but then because of this mirroring energy, then people are like, oh, they're definitely trying to kind of like spy or delve into it or something. I don't know. It's just, you can't see. No one can see. I feel like this is, I don't want to do this reading. Okay, yeah. I feel like none of this is helpful. Let's get more cards. Let's go. Maybe the first part was helpful, but now it's not helpful anymore. So maybe that's something here where it was like it was helpful at the time, but now it's like this situation has progressed past those energy, like those dynamics being helpful any longer, okay? So I would say where this Aries person, which mind you, they don't have to actually, when I'm referring to them, I'm just referring to them because of the cards. They don't have to have like a, you know, predominant Aries placement or something for this reading, or a Pisces placement for this reading. It is just going to be the energies I'm describing. But if you get like a double confirmation, or maybe for some of you it's kind of the opposite, where it's like, you know, she's saying the Aries person, so even if not all the characteristics are necessarily on point, that's how I know that it's that person, okay? But it's like this Aries person could be like kind of defensive, but also like watching what happens because they're like ready to defend themselves or take action if I don't know, if something like goes down. But I think a bit of it could be in their head where they're just like, I don't know if it's like necessarily reactionary because they're thinking about it before it would happen, but trying to just like brace themselves to be ready in case something goes down. It's a bit weird. Anyway, okay, so for this Pisces person, what do we have here? Let's go. Okay, so we have new beginning. Oh, it's like earth energy, but like a new beginning or a time of hermitude or a bit of both. It could be like a crossover there, like a beginning outside of 3 people, whether it's like time spent on their own. And the water, that's more like a dynamic. For some of you, there might not actually be a third person involved here at all. It's like the water is representative of the dynamic, where it's like, even though you guys are different, there is like a vibrational resonance here. Like there has to be some sort of give or take to be able to like move forward here in any real honest way. So until, it's just what I want, like if someone has a new beginning on their own and they're keeping to themselves, or in like, I don't know, they're in a time on their own, but this like Aries person is like ready in case something goes down. They're not like meeting, like it's not making sense to me. It's like one person's paying attention to themselves, going their own way, doing their own thing, literally staying away from people. And this other person is like almost like waiting for something bad to happen. So like, why are they waiting for something? What are they anticipating? What, like an offer to make up, or an offer of compassion or something? A love offer? I don't know about that. No. Is it defensive because of the feelings underneath it? Is it defensive because it's like you would like it to be more? You would like it to be better. You would like it to be fixed. You would like there to be like a kind, loving feelings, or you would like it to just be supportive. You would like it to like flow. You would like to come together in some way. And it's very much like a, I don't know. It could be a, I don't know if I stay or go, or it could be a, I don't know if I make a move or not, or I don't know if I initiate or not. I don't know if this, like, do I, don't I take a step? Okay, so there's that. And it could be because there's like a cautiousness around this like Virgo, Pisces person, which is like the victim martyr axis as well. So something about them is kind of like selfless, but they are now spending a time on their own, transcending this, moving away from it. Is it because they might set you straight, but like either you would be sad about it, or they have been hurt about something, so then it comes with this like very like black and white, it is or it isn't. Yeah, I just felt the energy clear up. Finally, I feel like today has been like hard to get through some of these energies. They're just like, it feels so muddy. Okay, that's good. I mean, the period of hermitude could just be like working through things, but okay. So the way I'm stacking the cards up in these like 3 different piles, this is not going to be like representative of one person, but a dynamic across, like a general dynamic. I'm placing on the top so it's in the middle, and we're going to do a spread on top. So there's some funny, like, I want to say like underplay, like something that played out behind the scenes or underneath the surface in some way that I think was kind of callous, that was intentional. And it's like, well, if you cut someone, then I don't know, what do you, like, if you purposely cut someone to hurt them or to watch them bleed, what do you think is going to happen? And then because of that, now you're like wondering, you're like, well, I don't know where I stand with them. Okay. But also this person could be like, I don't know, hard to say. They could be flexible, they could be rigid. Maybe you've seen them be both. And so part of that might be why it would be hard to know. But for others of you, it's like you still want to get back at them. This is weird because I feel like you could be in a split between whether you like love this person or whether you, I don't know if you necessarily think they're like the devil, but you think they're bad or out to get you. So there could be something here where it's like, we did have a bit of stuff come through about negative alterations in one of the other groups, and I can't remember what one it was. Black and white thinking could be a problem here for more than one person, but it could just also be like you being the viewer, where maybe we're not giving this person space to be like a nuanced whole human being. We're only seeing them one way or determining their actions to mean one thing or another, where it doesn't allow for anything other than what we like think it could be or are deeming it to be. I just think when I look at these 2 skies, this like Hermit Pisces, sort of Virgo Pisces person that's on their own, they're having that new beginning. These clouds, even though they're there, it's a little bit grey. Maybe you can imagine there's a little bit of swirling. But for the most part, they're just kind of floating. For the most part, they're just sort of there. They're not really doing anything. It almost feels calm, more calm. Whereas when I look at this like Five of Swords clouds that are in the background, it almost looks like they could be like moving quickly, or they're like very dark in color and they're very like rigidy sort of shapes. Like it makes me think of clouds that are moving and are very dark. So maybe it's like brimming on something darker. I don't know what I'm trying to explain. I feel like this person keeping to themselves with this new beginning, even if they come off a little bit more harsh or something like that, I think they're for the most part fairly peaceful or calm. Whereas whatever this Five of Swords energy is not that. It's like you could have been throwing something at this person, or like maybe you're just not happy with the way that something worked out. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you could have felt challenged by this person. You could have felt, I feel like you just would have been on different wavelengths, if I'm honest. Maybe you thought that this person was, I don't know, being in a Five of Swords way, or maybe you've seen them be that way in an external, separate circumstance with like other people. And then you've like kind of tarred them with the brush of that being something that they do, or they are that way in every scenario. But for all you know, maybe they were, I don't know. I kind of feel like this is the energy of like throwing a stick into the spokes of someone's wheel on their bicycle, watching them crash, and then when they get up and like yell at you because you threw a stick in the spoke of their bicycle that caused them to have an accident, but you did it intentionally, and then you're like, you were just out to get me. Like, I don't know. I don't understand it. Maybe we're thinking a lot of things are happening instead of watching what actually pans out with a person. Like, or maybe there's something about their personality that we're reading wrong. Maybe we're just not very well thought out. Maybe we haven't really thought about like all the reasons why a person could act a certain way. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing here that I'm seeing. So I don't know if there's really much else that I could say. So this is kind of like what went down between these two. So you could be any one of these people. You definitely could be a person who's wondered what happened between these two people. And so I guess that kind of helps clear that up. But also, I mean, I felt like I was speaking to you as if you were the Aries person. So take what resonates there for that one. I'm not really sure how this is going to play out. I feel like this was probably a bigger part of it's like stopping someone impeding on like your Jupiter expansive kind of prosperous happy energy, and somebody else that is kind of watching how things play out and just taking it in. And it does kind of bring them to a point where they find a harmony, they find people that they come together with. I kind of feel like someone here feels like they've not been let into someone else's party or something like that. And because they felt like they could have felt a bit slighted or dissed because someone was closer with someone else, or someone had a party and they didn't invite them. And if it's not about a party and being invited, it's just like maybe they were not part of an inner circle or something, and then they had like a real problem with it, and they kind of took it as if it was like a personal rejection or something like that, when maybe it really had nothing to do with them. It was just like, this is where I have harmony, or I was just already friends with this person, or maybe me and this person don't have to try, we just get each other, and it's like nothing personal. But then when I talk to you, you might feel challenged by the things that I say or not understand them, and I don't want to have to argue or explain it. Or maybe when I try to, you kind of jump down my throat or something like that, and I'm allowed to be my own person and have my own separate beliefs from what other people think. So maybe there's something here about someone used to being like the authority or the person who kind of is like, I don't know if the dictator is necessarily like an accurate way to describe this person, but maybe they're just used to being, maybe they're just like very confident and self-assured. So they're like, well, this just is what it is, and I know what I'm talking about, so blah. But like, it's more about like ego here, or more about feeling slighted, or not let into the party in some way. And they're almost defensive about it. But like, maybe for you, or maybe for this other person, they feel safer around people who are willing to listen to them, or even just being on their own, even if they like don't really have people around, because like they don't, I don't know, there's some, they could be maybe something about the way that you kind of approach them makes them like, it doesn't feel like a friendship, or it doesn't feel like a partnership, or it doesn't feel like an equal kind of relationship. And especially if they know that there's like weird things going on here where the other person is kind of thinking, well, they're just doing this to do this to me, and it's like nothing about them. Like, they have their own kind of information that they're bringing in, and they have their own situation, they have their own path, they have their own guidance, they have their own set of beliefs. They have like, and that's okay for them to have beliefs that are different from yours or from this other person. Okay, so if there was going to be a move, waiting for the right moment, I feel like, is key. But the way that you would have to approach this would be with humility. It would have to be very steady. It would probably have to acknowledge like past experiences, and it would have to be, there would have to be some sort of supportive or ease in the way that you approach this person, where you actually do soften to them. And this is if you're like more linked in with this kind of like Aries style person that I've been talking about. What you offer them needs to actually be solid, or it needs to be grounded, or something like that. I don't think like it needs, I kind of get the energy that it needs to be clean, it needs to be practical, it needs to be safe, it needs to be secure. This person doesn't want a cup that's been half tipped out, and they also don't want just like a good time, not a long time. They don't care if you're funny, if you are insincere. They don't care if you're fun to hang out with or interesting, if you are gonna do dodgy stuff behind their back or gap it tomorrow kind of thing. Or if you're going to feel challenged by any one single belief they have that has nothing to do with them. Okay, so something like that. Yeah, so it would kind of be, yeah, an accumulation of having humility, leading with like a heart-led or softer nature, or maybe just maybe I don't understand you, but maybe I would like to try because something about you I do value, or I do kind of want your love, even if I don't know why. Or maybe in connection, I thought maybe there was like a taking for granted energy here, could be a thing for sure as well. So even if there wasn't like a real massive ordeal that happened, maybe you just kind of wrote this person off, or you weren't really that interested in them. Obviously, you could be on the other side of this, and I'm just kind of explaining maybe from the other person's potential perspective, the ways it could have played out. But yeah, you definitely could have taken this person for granted, and you definitely could have thought that they were trying to slight you or something. I keep getting that being a thing. And they are trying to offer you, they were only trying to give you something solid, but maybe it was like boring, maybe it wasn't entertaining or fun or something like that. And if it's not that, like maybe you thought it lacked love or something. Do you know what this makes me think of? Maybe you could have been a person who was like a strong initiator. You're like, yep, that's cool, that's fun, I'm gonna ask them to hang out, and like you just naturally assume it, and you do, and it's good until at some point it's not. But maybe this person's not a person who would like initiate, because maybe they're, I don't know, they could be like more introverted. They could be a person who already had stuff going on, or I don't know, it makes me think like if you actually like someone, and you don't know if you would be, I'm like putting my hands over my face while I'm trying to talk about it, but I'm like still detached from the feeling. So maybe you want to move towards this person and you don't know how, and the only way that you're able to do that is to like, these are my feelings, this is why, or this is how, and I would like to offer you a beginning to come with me. And it's just like, it's being kind of raw or vulnerable. Maybe that's what it is. There's like a hard time being vulnerable here. So you have to be vulnerable to have this go any other way, okay? For if you actually want it to be all the good things that you know it could be or want it to be, you need vulnerability. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen, okay? All right, so we have Leo. So we have Leo, Aries, we have Pisces, we have Virgo, we have Taurus. So we definitely have like, what are we? Yeah, Cups. Okay. I think something here might feel, I don't know, maybe it feels painful for you to be vulnerable, or maybe it would be like a strength for you to declare a vulnerability or to not be strong, or maybe, how am I trying to say this? Like, maybe part of the strength is admitting that we're not always in control of ourselves, or maybe we don't always, I don't know, maybe is it hard being yourself because wires are getting crossed, and so it's like maybe you know something deeper underneath the surface in your emotions or something is taking the steering wheel, and maybe part of that vulnerability is admitting, like, I don't know how to explain it, like it feels very raw and vulnerable to expose that part of yourself that, like, I had a period of time where I felt really upset by this and I didn't know how to handle it or what to do. And instead of talking to you about it or trying to just offer peace or something like that, I have somehow cast you out, or we've had a disagreement, or we've, you know, I felt challenged by the things that you've said in some way. I don't know. Okay. It could be hard to find like a balance in what that looks like in a practical way for you. Yeah. For some of you, it may have, maybe you haven't left and it's like a wish fulfillment and you're trying to think out what it would look like to actually leave something so that you can get to come together. Some of you, I feel like I could be actually talking about a third party situation, but take what resonates here. I feel like that's not the case for probably most of you. But maybe it's more a matter of like time passing. But for others of you, it's like maybe you figured that a way you could get back was to kind of leave, to pull back your investment. But then the more that time passes, the more that you actually just realize that you want this person around and that they were supportive long term or something like that. Okay, so there's that. I feel like we're not really done here yet. I feel like this has probably been a bit of a bigger, I don't know, reading for group 3, which is nice. I can see how there could be like a lot of confusion, and maybe it's not confusion. Maybe the feelings are just like a lot, or they're changing a lot, or there's still, maybe there is things that we don't see, right? And we can't really see other people's feelings. So that could be something here where, like, when I looked at this person, I feel like I need to move all this stuff to get underneath it to see what they feel. So they might be a person who's not really letting on, or they're not, they could be private. I don't know, maybe they're not. Maybe there's something about the way they feel they put on display, but it kind of comes off like it's not personal, or that's not how, I don't know. But there's like the 5 of Cups, so they would be like grieving, or they would be sad or disappointed or something like that, experiencing some type of loss. But then maybe on the front they're like really hard, or they're really like detached or cut off or harsh or something. Or maybe they would be like real firm, or even not angry, but just like, don't approach me. And so maybe some of you don't see how affected this person is, or maybe they've worked through how affected they were to now they're quite hardened because of it. But I don't know. The more I talk about it, the more I just wonder, like, what went wrong. And like, looking at the details isn't helpful. Thinking about it isn't helpful. Like, maybe it is, but it's not, because we said that, like, the air element would be helpful. Maybe you do need to think about it and get out of the feelings to be able to kind of meet this person on middle ground. Like, getting to, I don't know how to explain it, because it's like the more detail that I go into, it's like I'm missing the point. It's like I'm still not really thinking of the other person. So maybe there's something here where we need to think outside the box, think bigger picture, think bigger than ourselves. Maybe that person was like dealing with stuff that you didn't even know about. And so maybe there's a lot that's been internally going on for you. So then it didn't make sense when this person acted the way they did, because you didn't understand everything. Which, I mean, is like easy to do if anyone has anything going on in life, I guess. But what can we do? What messages do we have for group 3 around this situation? Yeah, nourish the shadow and the self. I feel like I had nourish the shadow come out in 1 or 2 of the others. Like, we have nourishment again, while waiting, and metamorphosis. Nourish the shadow, I can't remember if it came out in both 1 and 2 or which one it come out in. And that was more about like embracing, almost like a villain era style, like embracing my shadow or the things that I've stuffed down that I've been told that aren't good, which could equate to being strong, or could equate to being the villain in someone else's story, right? For this right now, and getting the nourish the shadow come through in a way that, like, maybe part of your shadow is like being vulnerable, but also part of being human is at times being vulnerable. Or maybe part of wanting connection is at times being vulnerable. Because I kind of get it come through like, if you're always trying to dominate people or protect yourself to a point that like feelings aren't allowed, then it's like you never really show vulnerability that this person would need to see. So that's definitely an important thing there. And I kind of get this like self-worth, love, value, and respect could definitely be big themes that you're working with. But there could be something here where like this is something that like this person needs as well. So if we're not offering that to them, then it's just probably not ever really going to go anywhere good anyway. Like, I don't think it would, it's not a case that it wouldn't go anywhere good. I think it would just not go anywhere. And this person could have changed a lot. You or this person, or both of you, could have gone through a lot of big changes. So maybe the way that they were once is totally different to the way that they are now. Maybe that's not even about your relationship, even if it seems like it could line up with a time where things were good to where they're not good. Part of it could be their own journey in how they, like, their own personal growth that they've experienced in their life. And so what they look like on the surface is totally different to like 2 or 5 years ago. Okay. And it's just, it's like hard to fathom conceptually, because it's not, you've just not seen it. Like, you're not them, you don't know, you haven't talked to them about it, or they haven't said, or maybe they've said and you didn't understand it, or you didn't try to understand it, or you just, I feel like it would have been that thing where coming back to, they say something and maybe you feel challenged by it. And I think for them, it's like them speaking their truth, them holding their frame. Yeah. And I think like that nourishment, so like loving ourselves while we're waiting, or getting to know ourselves, or being softer or kinder to ourselves while we're waiting, maybe will help empower us to get to a point that we can be vulnerable if that chance and time comes back to, meet them halfway, even if we don't understand everything in how they show up, or the choices that they make, or the things that they say feel challenging to us. But it's kind of like we can only know others as deeply as we know ourselves. And so there could be a lack of knowing ourselves or something it might not be that at all. It doesn't have to be that deep. It could just literally be like you've had different life experiences and this is where we wound up. But what I would say is like less about trying to call judgment shots or trying to think inside this person's thoughts and feelings and trying to guess and, you know, work that out. Maybe we just remove ourselves from it, not worry about what they're thinking and feeling because we're not going to know anyway. Focus on ourselves, trying to take care of ourselves, trying to be kind, and in the moment that we have shown ourselves love, kindness and compassion, then we can meet others more easily on that level because we know what it feels like for us to receive it. And maybe for some of you this is hard because you've not really received a lot of that. Maybe for some of you did kind of receive this from this person in the past, hard to say. But yeah, I feel like I've talked for an age here. I feel like we've gotten to the point underneath all this. There was a lot here to work through, so I could see how this could be something that would kind of take time. I mean, we have a couple of like master numbers, like I kind of get it come through as like 11, 11, 33, 33. Yeah, 11 is very important, but also those original numbers I was looking at the start. So it could be like completing cycles. So we have like 1, 12, 24, and then it goes on from like 24, 25. So things might slow down or clear up, actually, I should probably say. If we can find a way to be in the present moment, and I don't know, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. If it was and it resonated, like definitely like the video for sure. I'll see you all in another one, but take care.